Good evening. Good evening. Check. All right, we'll get started. Meeting is convened at 6:03. Before we get started, I'd like to ask if there are any parents in the audience that need translation services. ¿Hay algunos padres que ocupen servicio de traducción? Saying none. Thank you. Mr. Chad Cooper, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, roll call. Sorry. Janet, can you please make a note of who is present?
Trustees present tonight are Calderon, Aguilar, and Vizcarra. With Trustee Duarte and Kim absent, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Cooper, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we move on to the approval of agenda, I would like to ask for a moment of silence for the loss of the children in Connecticut, and also for the loss of life of our student from Brawley. Though there are not our students, the lines of communications and connections are always there between each school district. So please.
Yeah, the young man from Brawley is the son of a former teacher in Calexico and a member of the California Teachers Association in general. And Yulila Alonso Garza is also very active in her community. Whenever there's a family in need, anywhere, she's usually there. And so she's hurting, and as any parent would be. It's a parent's worst nightmare, what she's living. And Brawley and the Imperial Valley really turned out last night at Warren Field and at Brawley Union High School. And cold night, but it was very, very moving. Okay. I'd also like for us to recognize the loss of Mrs. Elaine Weininger for Mrs. Bauk, and also for one of our former teachers. I believe she just lost her husband, Mrs. Santita Menenhal. She had the misfortune to lose her brother last June, Mr. Arevalo, and she just lost her husband, I think, at the beginning, either at the end of the year or at the beginning of this year. So our prayers to Mrs. Mendenhall and her family as well.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll move on to item C, approval of agenda. Members, we have the agenda before you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Vizcarra. Is there a second?
Second that.
Second by Calderon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Comments from public? Closed items session only. I have a request from Mr. Chad Cooper.
I just want to confirm it's a typo on the agenda, because if you take a look at E1, it says public employee appointments, : there's nothing. Then it talks about discipline of everybody on the classified and certificated employment report. And I'm thinking that the first dash needs to be moved up to number 1. And what you're discussing are the names on the employment report? Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you.
So do we need to go back and change?
Yes, you could just go back and amend the agenda to include that one.
Okay, so we'll go back and if I can, we had a motion by Vizcarra or Ms. Vizcarra, Zuno
Withdraw.
Vizcarra, you withdraw it and
Motion.
motion as amended?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Second by Calderon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. We had item E2. Ms. Harvey? Yeah, I'm on it. Come on up.
I think you mean E also, don't you? The item, ma'am? No? What did you do? Oh. The item I'd like to talk to is public appointments. And we don't know who it is or who it will be, but I would like to tell the new board members especially, is that as you appoint non-union represented administrators to this district, that you're aware that their salary has to be made public, which it's not always been that way in the past. The people are appointed, and it's never mentioned in public what their salary is. But now, because of the scandal in Bell, the city of Bell, they do have a law that says that anybody who is a non-union represented employee that's appointed to an administrative position, that their salary is made public, and that the community, the public, has an opportunity to comment on that. So I don't know if you're appointing somebody tonight or you're not appointing, I don't know. But I'd certainly like to see it done right instead of the way we've done it in the past. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, because there was a motion to withdraw the agenda, we do want to go back to approve the agenda with the one revision.
We did. We did.
I thought I'm sorry, I
She
misunderstood.
withdrew
I
a
thought she
motion
withdrew the motion.
and motion to, as
should-
amended.
It should be two separate motions to withdraw.
She did. She would.
No, we only did one motion.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
So yes, so we need to approve the new agenda, the amended agenda then.
Okay. Is there a motion? Okay. So we withdrew it. Now, can we have a motion to
Yes.
approve the new agenda
With the amendment.
with the amendment?
So make a motion to approve the new agenda with the amendment
Motion by
as
Zuno,
amended.
Second that.
second by Calderon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are we clear now?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Moving on to, those were the only two public comments about closed session items only. So we'll move on into E, closed session. Is there anything that you need to read? Okay, then we'll reconvene within 1 hour.
Members of the audience, there are 3 items for closed session. Public employee appointments pursuant to Gov Code 54957, public employee discipline dismissal release pursuant to Government Code 54957, and anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9. Number of potential cases, 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Meeting reconvened at 8:38. I'm sorry, 7:37. Whole hour later.
There are no reportable actions taken in closed session. Thank you.
Well, with the exception of at 7:15, there was a vote to extend the meeting. We have a motion by Ms. Duarte and second by Ms. Vizcarra to extend the closed session by 15 minutes, and it was voted 4-0 in favor.
Thank you. Moving to item G, comments from the public. The board will take any and all comments from the public related to an item on the agenda, open or closed session, or any other item of district business that is not on the agenda. I have a public comment by regarding agenda template. Mrs. Diane Harvey.
My comment is about the way we organize the items for discussion for presentation to the board. For example, at the meeting on December 13th, at the very end of the meeting was the item on the first interim report. For me, that's an important item. I didn't think it should be way at the end, especially when the meeting was begun with student presentations and all that also took place, and then to have the first interim report, which is so important to this district and for everybody watching the finances. And the public needs to know and needs to hear, and then not be at the end of a meeting, that we went from almost being taken over by the state, supposedly, to a positive certification. So that for me is a big item, and I would have stayed, but it was just way too late. The items, well, tonight you voted to stay in closed session a little bit longer. We made it through it, but I don't know, the new board members, I don't know how you're feeling about having closed session first as opposed to at the end, but I should certainly like you to look at the template and also look at the board president fixes the agenda along with the superintendent, but put the items, I don't know if it comes up last and it just is added last or how that happens, but I didn't think that should have been the last item to be discussed at a board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Harvey. H. Mr. Cooper, did you want to address board travel in public comments or as it comes up on H2? Okay.
Okay, I want you to note that on talking about requests for travel, you're sending teachers, principals, etc., on the clock to training, and they're getting paid their normal wage. Substitute will fill in for them. That's because it's happening Monday through Friday. A lot of times, teachers are asked to go to trainings on the weekend for zero compensation. Puts teachers in a bad spot because they want to go, yet they want to be with their families. And sometimes you get treated better at a site if you're willing to go somewhere on your own time on the weekend, and I just don't think that's fair. So I want you to thank the board for sending people places February 4th and 5th, which is in the middle of the week. And in the future, I want to work on some sort of compensation for employees that work on the weekend. Number 2, board travel. I was reading the 9,000 series of the board bylaws. It has everything to do with the school board. And it says that school board should go to training to develop boardsmanship skills and new developments in education. And that's really good. It says funds for board development shall be budgeted annually for each board member. I have yet to see a budget that tells me exactly how much is budgeted for annual board training. I'd like to see that. And number 2, this is interesting, and I think it's a good reminder, especially maybe for when more than one board member goes somewhere. It says, all board members may attend conferences for the purpose of board development. Board business shall not be discussed at conferences. Sometimes I get the impression that discussions about the public's business happen outside of the public, and I don't think that's good. So when you guys go off to your conference, where are you going? Riverside, I think it is. Please don't discuss board business per your bylaws. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Ms. Annette Butner, public comments.
Annette Butner, parent. I just want to echo on the template of the board meetings. I'd like to recommend to keep the agendas relevant and concise. I mean, a couple of board meetings ago, we went through the whole alphabet practically on the items. Just, be sensible and pick and choose whatever items you want to talk about, whatever issues are more pressing, and keep them concise, and just be respectful of everyone's times, especially yours as well. We all have families, we all work, we have to take kids to school the next morning, and just keep it professional. I think I don't know what other school districts, is up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning having board meetings. Let's just keep it, condensed and concise and short and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Butner. See no further public comments unless the items, I think you just want to address it under Mr. Cooper and Ms. Harvey at that time, and same thing with Mr. Ureña, correct? You want to address it then, not right now? Okay, all right. Then let's move on to consent agenda. Are there any items, board members, that you need to or want to pull for separate discussion?
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Duarte, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Calderon. No discussion? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously 4-0. Item I. We have 3 people to speak to item I. Mr. Chad Cooper, meeting times and dates.
I reviewed as much as I could the school board policy, and I believe the school board's breaking its policy by doing all this in one night. And by all this in one night, I mean trying to change the meeting dates, which were in board policy, and the school board changed that in violation, I believe, of its board policy at the previous meeting. My input is, for me as a member of the public and a teacher in this community, Thursday night is better. That way I can go to school Friday and catch up on my sleep on Saturday. Because this school board has a history of running super long, super late meetings. And to come here and do my duty as union president and then have to go to work on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday without enough sleep is difficult. Also, there's a number of matters that involve the city and the school district, and holding the meetings on the same night as city council limits concerned citizens' ability to interface with both sets of elected officials. So I'd encourage the school board to look at its board policy on how to change board policy and consider following its policy. The policies are there for a reason. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Ms. Diane Harvey?
I did some research too. I only had 12 hours to do this since I saw it was on the agenda last night at 6 o'clock. So in between 6 o'clock last night or if you posted it at 5, I don't know, 4:30. Okay, so 4:30 till right now, last night. But this is my comment. It says in your board policy that you're going to develop and present a draft policy for the first reading at the board meeting. And the board will give input, and you'll also have a discussion about this proposed policy with community expectations, staff recommendations, and how it's going to impact on your policy and governance and your operational efficiency. I don't know that all that was done. On December 13th, you adopted a calendar for Tuesday night meetings. Nobody said, I didn't hear it, that we have a board policy that says we meet on Thursdays. Shouldn't we do something about that? So here it is. We're at Thursday, changing it all tonight. It does say you'll present the draft policy for a first reading, and then at the second reading, you can waive that. It doesn't say you can skip the second reading, but you can waive it and then take action on the policy. I think this is going too fast. The impetus for this was to move for convenience of some of the board members, I assume, to a Tuesday night. I'm just going to echo what Mr. Cooper said. It's easy to stay up till midnight, 1 o'clock on a Thursday and teach school on Friday, but it's harder if it's Tuesday, and then you have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's a difficult, and we do have a responsibility as union officers to be here to listen and to be part of your discussions and to give our input. So I would hope that this would be put on hold and you would not approve this tonight, and give some more thought to it, and ask your staff, ask your principals. It also affects them, but they're not going to say anything, but I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Raul Ureña?
All right. Good evening, more board members. I'm Raul Ureña. I'm a sophomore here at Calexico High School. As some of you know, I've been to a lot of board meetings and I've seen bylaws get passed and voted on. And every single time there's a bylaw on the agenda, the recommendation stays the same. That the Board of Education waive the first and second readings and adopt the reading by title only. And I think this is very unprofessional. I think that there's many people in the community, including myself, that have to do work or school, and they don't have time to read the backup information on these items. So if you can waive the second reading if you want, but at least read it once so people know exactly what the language of the bylaw is, so they know if they're for it or if they're against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ureña. Ms. Ambris, do you have anything in regards to clarification? Okay. Seeing none. So the recommended action, Board Bylaws 9320, parentheses A, recommendation that the Board of Education waive the first and second readings and adopt by reading the title only the revision to Board Bylaw 9320, parentheses A, meetings and notices, regular meetings, bracket, changed board meeting dates to second and fourth Tuesdays at 6 p.m., and calendar the regular board meetings at the annual reorganizational meeting in December, end bracket. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Duarte. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Calderon. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Item I-2, approve Personnel Commission Classified Employment Report for January 8, 2013. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Zuno Vizcarra. Is there a second?
I second that.
Second by Calderon. Discussion. Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 No.
Motion passes 3-1. Item I-3, approve certificated employment report for January 8, 2013. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Duarte. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Zuno Vizcarra. Discussion? No discussion?
The only discussion, oh, never mind. Oh, just the discussion we had in regards to the retirement and to the position,
That's the other one.
the direction to staff.
Do you want to go on record, or you just? Yeah, that was for
Oh, that's right.
classified. Withdraw your comment?
I withdraw my comment.
Okay. So we have a motion by Duarte, second by Zuno Vizcarra. See no further discussion, I'll call for the question and ask for, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 4-0. And since we don't have comments by board members, we adjourn this meeting at 7:54.
Nice and sweet.
15.